I just want to begin with some thank yous. If you can see the slide, I have everybody listed here. I wanted to start by thanking the Barrow Neurologic Foundation, and particularly Jana Ernest, Emily Lawson, and Katie Cobb. They all did a tremendous job in putting together this event. I want to thank David Barenko and Jessica for hosting us here at Paradise Valley Country Club. Yes, round of applause. Special thanks to Peter Nakaji and Nader and Fran for all of your hard work as the residency program directors. Barrow Academic Affairs Office, Barb Hecht, Corey, and Donna, particularly Donna, for all of your hard work throughout the year again. We have some special guests tonight. First among them is our alumni guest lecturer, John Golfinos, who has brought his wife, Stephanie. It's rare that we get to see Stephanie out, so it's great to have you both. We also, thank you. Round of applause. From the Barrow Neurologic Foundation, we have Harold Dornbacher and Lisa Hanley. Can you two stand up? And then I'd like to thank U.S. Bank, who's helping sponsor the evening. So I want to welcome you all to this celebration of achievements of our graduating chief residents and fellows, and other members of the BNI family who have reached milestones this year. I want to congratulate all of you on this enormous accomplishment, acknowledge the adversity you overcame to get here, and thank you for years of service, for the blood, sweat, and tears that you gave to our common Barrow mission. I was just at my daughter's graduation from Brown and was struck by how quickly the years passed. The Brown graduation embodies time in the way that the graduates marched through the Van Wickle gates that are opened outwardly, that welcomed them inward 4 years earlier, in the way that the alumni returned for reunions to line the streets of College Hill in chronological order to cheer the parade of graduates, and in the way that the parents and families shed tears with the realization that their babies have matured into adulthood. A neurosurgery graduation comes over a decade later in life, after having spent the prime of youth, after many commitments and sacrifices, but with hardly any pomp and circumstance. The organizers of this night have tried to change that for you. This is your night, you chiefs and fellows. And as you can see from the format, it really is a night and a dinner party. It's a night to honor you. But before we do that, I want to use this opportunity to talk about what it means to be a Barrow graduate. Although I'm speaking to you as the leader of Barrow, I am also a Barrow graduate, one who came here as a resident, who left after his graduation and came back. I am the only graduate ever to do that. And with that perspective, I want to talk about the Barrow School of Neurosurgery. A school is defined firstly as, quote, an institution that provides instruction. But if you read down to the fourth definition in Webster's, it is, quote, a group of persons who hold a common doctrine or follow the same teacher, as in philosophy, theology, or medicine. A school of neurosurgery, therefore, is a group of neurosurgeons who hold a common doctrine and practice with a stereotypical style. What schools of neurosurgery exist around the world? There was the Neurosurgical School. This was made up of neurosurgeons who traveled to Zurich in the 70s and 80s to watch the professor in his theater using the microscope for the first time. There was the Gainesville School of Neurosurgery, where Al Lawton emphasized anatomy as the foundation of microsurgery. There was and still is the UCSF School of Neurosurgery, of which Dr. Spetzler is a part, started by Charlie Wilson and continued by Mitch Berger, that espouses the surgeon-scientist model for academic neurosurgery. And there is the Buffalo School, started by Nick Hopkins, that popularized endovascular technique. There are other schools, and among them is the Barrow School of Neurosurgery. But who exactly are we, and what is our common doctrine? In simplest terms, Barrow is big, bold, and brash in ways that other places can never be. And in that unique environment, The Barrow School of Neurosurgery breeds technical surgical excellence. Barrow graduates are known for being technically excellent. I got my job at UCSF not because Mitch Berger knew who I was, but because he was looking to hire an inexpensive young vascular attending. He knew where to find one who would be technically excellent and could build the program. We are all fascinated by the art of neurosurgery, and we take this art to the limits. We develop our technical skills through huge case volumes, and we sharpen our strategic thinking through daily workarounds. We supersede other schools by synthesizing them and moving beyond. The Barrow School embraces Zurich's microneurosurgery, Gainesville's neuroanatomy, matches UCSF's publications, and is as pioneering as the Buffalo School. Our graduates are technically excellent with a good measure of fearlessness and creativity. This, I believe, is the common thread that ties all of us together and allows us to accept challenges, reject norms, and push boundaries. Our graduates make Barrow, the Barrow School, a force in neurosurgery, but we dominate today not because of our size or our softball prowess, but because others seek technical excellence and look to us to show them how. They look for our papers and videos and books. They travel thousands of miles to Phoenix to spend a week or a month or a year. We are a dominant school, but ironically, we lack a stereotypical school. Our campus is the envy of the neurosurgical world, but we have no medical school, and we have a brief history. This reality challenges us to solidify and strengthen our school. This is why I believe we need to think about what it means for us to become an iconic institution and for our graduates to become leaders in neurosurgery. Iconic surgeons and iconic institutions both attract talent and breed excellence that we value in our doctrine. But icons are fleeting. Schools of neurosurgery built on the shoulders of icons rise and fall, like London, Ontario after Drake, like Zurich after Yassergill, and like Helsinki after Hernesniemi. Iconic institutions last for generations. Residents know this, and patients know this too. Our transformation to an iconic institution means chasing an ideal of technical excellence that is ever expanding, finding preeminence in all neuroscience disciplines, and continuing to broadcast that message to the world. Becoming an iconic institution is more than a slogan. It's the formula for our self-preservation as the Barrow School. When I was in high school planning my future, I was hell-bent on going to an Ivy League school because of two life stories, my grandfather's and my mother's. My grandfather loved to tell tales of his medical school days at Johns Hopkins in the early 1920s. As the son of a carpenter's family that immigrated from Germany and settled in Pennsylvania, becoming a doctor, and the first one in my family, was a big deal. His interest was microbiology, and he studied rheumatic fever and the pharmacology of penicillin, with publications in the New England Journal, JAMA, and Science. His claim to fame was the demonstration of penicillin's efficacy in treating bacterial meningitis given intrathecally, recording 30 recoveries in 31 patients in 1944, at a time when patients with these infections were dying. He had the good fortune of being stationed at Great Lakes Naval Base, at which time where they were getting first dibs on the drug. He went on to have a successful practice after the war in internal medicine. When he developed Alzheimer's disease later in life, the stories of his Hopkins days were all that he could remember, and my visits with him were an endless loop of the Hopkins tales. He sold me on the medical profession, and I came to know Hopkins as an iconic institution. Years later, when I was given the chance to learn in his hallowed halls, when I walked the Hopkins Dome where Osler, Halsted, and Cushing once rounded, I realized that an iconic institution had the power to push people and inspire excellence. The second story is from my mother, who dreamed of becoming a lawyer but dropped out of Northwestern during her first semester to start my family at age 18. I was born on her 20th birthday and made her dream even more unlikely because she needed to work. Determined to become a lawyer, she finished her bachelor's degree at night school at Mundelein College, a local community college near our home. She went on to complete her legal degree, again in night school, at DePaul University, another forgettable institution whose only claim to fame was a brief period of Blue Demon basketball prowess in the early 1980s that included a trip to the NCAA Final Four under Coach Ray Meyer. Despite arriving at her goal of becoming a lawyer, the journey was a tribulation, and I witnessed the frustration that comes from earning your education the hard way. Her message became this: the pathway to success in life was success in school, and make sure you go to the best schools and in the traditional way. This is the context in which I think all of us, all of our graduates, made the decision to come to the BNI. We spent years pursuing success in upper echelons of academia to match with the best residency programs, and venerable institutions beckoned. Yet all of us recognized something in the desert, this desert outpost, that was better than what the establishment had to offer. Joining Barrow was and still is a transformative departure. It requires a leap from the comfortable prestige and instant recognition of universities to a place unheard of by many. How many of you shared the results of your match with friends and neighbors, even your medical school classmates, only to experience that blank stare or worse, an apologetic look from those who assumed something went wrong in the match? I couldn't help but hear my mother's message about going to the best schools, and I couldn't help but wonder how my grandfather would react to leading Hopkins for the BNI. These are the growing pains of an institution on its way to becoming iconic. But more importantly, this is what filters only the best stock for the Barrow School, selecting those with the character to commit to a school whose excellence and longevity may not be as obvious or as certain as conventional schools. Coming to Barrow self-selects a special breed that prioritizes the school's doctrine of technical excellence above all else. There may be 100 programs in this country, but few of them blossom into schools of neurosurgery. If a school like ours takes root, what can be done to make it a lasting dynasty? We have the right doctrine. Fearless technical excellence is a timeless ideal. We have the right graduates, an army that strives for excellence with every case. What we need for longevity, in my opinion, is for our graduates to go on to become leaders in neurosurgery. Barrow's product fits best in an environment with multidisciplinary teams, residents, and an academic structure. The Barrow School will last for generations if graduates go out and lead, if they think big, bold, and brash, if they import that Barrow spirit to their corner of the neurosurgical world. That special something that drew you to Barrow and enriches you after 7 years is now woven into your fabric. Actions and deeds will be more compelling than recognition and prestige. Innovation and invention will be more inspiring than history and tradition. State-of-the-art will be valued more than status quo. Accept challenges, reject norms, and push boundaries. Embrace this creed, practice it every day, and display your technical excellence in the hallowed halls of other schools of neurosurgery who will then know the Barrow School. I invited John Golfinos here tonight because he embodies this leadership pathway. John was 2 years my senior in residency and like my big brother. As the chairman at NYU and the leading acoustic neurosurgeon in New York City, he demonstrates this point. If Barrow's product is technical excellence, then it fits best in an academic environment. John blossomed at NYU and probably would not have advanced as he did outside of it. Academics doesn't necessarily mean research or practicing in a university. It means finding a way to contribute. Write papers, develop devices, teach courses, join committees, or lead a department. The impact of the Barrow School of Neurosurgery will be magnified in an environment that facilitates leadership and inspires those working with you. I'm almost done. Graduation for me was a mix of happiness and sadness. Happy because I had become a neurosurgeon and confident in my training and skills. When I came in 1991, I had spent 3 years mentored by Henry Brem studying brain tumor angiogenesis and felt certain about becoming a brain tumor surgeon. I had never seen a brain AVM resection at Hopkins and heard little about them until a young Dr. Spetzler lectured in Baltimore during my 3rd year about his new grading system. When I watched him operate, I realized that my excitement was not to be found in unraveling signaling pathways for tumors, but in elevating neurosurgical technique. I realized the technical challenges of vascular neurosurgery were far more engaging than tumor surgery, and I changed course. I progressed through the milestones, my first DVD on my first night on call, answering those 4 a.m. calls in the ER for another gunshot wound to the head, getting through my pediatric rotation with Hal Recate, performing my first bypass with Joseph Bramsky, and finally doing cardiac standstill cases after writing about them years earlier. Graduation was sad because I was leaving the neurosurgical mountaintop. I knew the parade of giant aneurysms and brainstem cab-miles was over. I knew the stream of insight absorbed from Dr. Spetzler would be replaced by my errors and introspection. I knew the culture of the UCSF school would not be the same as Barrow. I'm sure our graduates feel this mix of happiness and sadness tonight. You have explored and transformed and matured to become fine neurosurgeons. Savor the happiness because you earned it. Ignore the sadness because even though you're leaving the mountaintop, I can assure you that Barrow stays with you. The great cases may not be as frequent or as spectacular in your budding careers, but they will come and you will build practices of passion and fulfillment of your own making. Peter and I will bestow your diplomas later in the evening, but I'd like you to consider them promissory notes for continued achievement. You are our school's students, disciples, and standard bearers. To whom much is given, much is expected. I expect that all of you will meet our standards. I expect that in time, all of you will become masters of your domains in your own right. I expect that each of you will soar to new heights and exceed the masters here who trained you. Follow your passion, find your voice, and make your mark. As graduates of the Barrow School, you will be the ones blazing the trail. And as all good graduation speeches contain a quote from Yogi Berra, I have one for you here. When you come to a fork in the road, take it. But I would change that and say to you tonight, when you come to a fork in the road, blaze new trails. Thank you.